Yes, guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. My name is CPA Makan. Today I will be taking you through revision on business mathematics and statistics. So therefore, this particular unit is also called quantitative analysis. Some organizations or institutions call it also management of accounting. Some call cost of accounting. So all this purely about the statistics is purely what I'm going to cover. So I'm going to do some revision right away from question 1 to question 5, the ones I have. And on this particular revision for today, I'm going to cover the following topics. Topic 1 is about probability distribution, whereby we shall be covering on normal distribution, Poisson distribution, and also binomial distribution. I'll also be covering sampling theory. Another one is what we call the chi-square. Another one is what we call index numbers. Then time series. Then finally measure of central tendency. So those are the some topics that have been tested on this particular revision that I'm going to cover. However, you need to follow my YouTube video so that you are able to learn each and every topic that I've actually covered. So the topics that have been captured in the form of lecture have a comprehensive revision, comprehensive questions that you are able to cover. But at the moment, we are going just directly to the questions and apply our knowledge that we have already learned in our previous video. So if you have not done the same, kindly ensure that you subscribe to CPA Makan YouTube, and then ensure that your notification bell is always on. Thank you so much. Welcome, question 1. Now, on this question 1, it has been categorized into 7 units, 7 questions. So the first question says, list down 4 reasons for sampling in statistics. So list 4 reasons why sampling is important. That is A. So in A, they are talking about the reasons why sampling is important. As you know, the sampling is a process by which we are trying to get the subject of the population. We want to get the sampling, the portion of the elements in that particular population for us to get the general knowledge about the entire. So therefore, the reason why we use sampling are 1, reasons for sampling. Reasons why do we use sampling is because the sampling in this case is, first of all, it is cost effective. That is to say, it is not costly when you just pick some few elements to represent the entire population. So it is cheaper in terms of cost. The second reason why we use sampling is because of time saving. In this case, we are just dealing with a few number of elements. So therefore, when we select some few elements, we spend the shortest time possible so that we are able to get the data and analyze them for the better of that particular population. So therefore, it saves time. Another reason why we do sampling also is because of the what you call manageability. Manageability. This is to say that you are able to manage that small sampling that you have done. That fourth one is what we call destructive nature of the test. Destructive nature of the test. Some of the tests that you want to carry on might be very harmful to the human consumption. So therefore, for that case, what will happen there is that if you are carrying out this particular test, ensure that the sampling is small enough so that it cannot consume your time. And when you consume your time, it means that you are endangering also yourself. So for that case, we are saying it is destructive. Correct? The fifth reason why we do also sampling is because of the availability of population elements. Those are some of the reasons why we prefer to use sampling. B is saying, briefly explain 4 components of time series. So B, time series. Time series, remember class, remember I've covered this comprehensively in our previous videos. So whereby we are discussing about decisionalization, and we are also discussing about how to calculate the quarter central tendency and all that together. So I've covered this one also clearly in our previous video. So if you want to cover you know more about the computation, but in this particular exam that I have here, there was no much about the time series, so it was only about the theories. So the theory here was saying you are supposed to identify 4 elements or components of time series, whereby we say the first one is what we call the trend, which we say that trend is purely about the general movement of the variation over a long period of time. The second one is what we call the seasonal. This is about the short time period of time in which the variation of the items or the elements in that population is taking place. We also say that we have what we call cyclical. So cyclical, whereby we say in this case it is based on the seasons, whereby it generates the economic behavior, where we have the boom, we have the recession, we have the depression, and we have the recovery. We also say that we have what we call irregular. Another word for irregular is random. Correct? So these are the examples of time series. So these 4 time series are purely covered in our video on computation. Remember, they are very important for computation. But for this paper that I have, it doesn't have this one. So kindly follow my video so that you are able to know exactly how to calculate this. Number C. C is saying, on average, the school photocopier breaks down 8 times during the year, during the school week, from Monday to Friday. Assuming that the number of breakdowns can be modeled by a Poisson distribution, find the probability that it breaks down, Roman 1, 5 times in a given week, Roman 2, once on a Monday, Roman 3, 8 times in a fortnight. So this particular sub-question here is purely about the probability distribution, specifically on the Poisson distribution. And when we talk about the Poisson distribution, we are talking about a particular probability whereby we are considering a larger population. Larger population means it is more than 100,000, 4,000, even 50,000. So for that case, we use what we call Poisson distribution. And for that matter, a Poisson distribution probability is calculated as P into brackets x is equals to n equals to Poisson distribution. Therefore, we are going to say that lambda power x multiplied by e power negative lambda over permutation x. Permutation x. So in our video, we said when you talk about this sign here, it stands for mean, and therefore this one is the same as that mean in our central tendency measurement. So we are going to equate, when you see this lambda, it means what? Mean. And therefore this one is just a natural number that is found in your calculator, whereby you are supposed to say shift. You press shift, then press the number, maybe 5. If you press sorry, yeah, not number 5, but you press shift, then you press again E in your calculator, it automatically display itself there. Once it has displayed yourself, then you put your figures there. If it is negative 2.2 times 3, it will just give you the same way we learned in our class. So if you have a problem in shifting this, kindly you have also the opportunity to reach us and be able to get this. Now this is what you have been told. It is under Poisson probability. Before you do anything, extract information first. The question says, on average, the school photocopier breaks down 8 times during the school week. 8 times during the school week in average. Therefore, it means that in our lambda, which is mean, is 8 times. And this 8 times is happening in a week, which means it is within Monday to Friday. Monday to Friday. How many days are those, class? 5. So within a week, we are able to find that the photocopier breaks 8 times. So that is our lambda. Then they are also saying that Roman 1, 5 times in a given week, Roman 1. So we can now go to Roman 1 directly and say 5 times in a given week. 5 times in a given week. So 5 times here means it is our value of what? X. While our lambda is already there shown. So in this case now we just say now probability of x equals to 5 should be equals to lambda power x multiplied by e power negative lambda everything over permutation x. Okay, permutation x. Remember, permutation is also in your calculator. Now in this case now you come and substitute. Where there is lambda you put 8, then power x you have been told that 5, then you say multiply by e power negative 8, everything is permutation 5. Permutation 5. And remember, when you talk about factorial or permutation 5, this is what it means, class. If somebody says C, if somebody seeks C n over C, n, for example, n over C like that, what does it mean? It means that for us to work out this one, we need to say it is 8 power 5, everything over 8 minus 5, and then permutation multiplied by 5. So interpretation of this part here, class, is n combination C or a combination n, depending with the n book that you use now. In this case, let me say x, x. So n is the number, while x is now the actual. Then permutation, this is written like this. If you press your calculator, it will be 8 power 5, then divide by the difference between these two, which gives you 3. 3, then you press permutation 3, then times permutation 5. Your calculator will just give you the answer directly. And if you have a challenge on that, kindly class, reach out to me and I will be able to help you. Now it is 8 power 5 times e power negative 8 divided by 5 permutation 5 or a factorial 5. So when you press that, class, correctly using your calculator, the answer you get is 9.15%. Roman 2. Roman 2 is saying once on a Monday. Once on a Monday. Once on a Monday. Once on Monday. Once on Monday. Once on Monday. Now it means that it is happening once and it's purely on Monday. So here what we have here is that 5 times for 5 days. What about per day? So we'll now say if I want to get per day the way they are saying here, per month, once on Monday, I'll just take now 8 times divide by 5 days. I will get 1.6. What is this now, class? This is your lambda or your mean. So therefore, you now come and say, okay, probability now is x equals to 1 means 1 equals to permutation, which is now in this case, it is 1.6 power 1 times e power negative 1.6 over 1 permutation. Remember, I've explained by saying this one here is calculated as this in your computation. So you just press your calculator like that, you get this one. So instead of 8 power 5, you just say 1.6 power 1, then permutation 1. You get the answer. Then from there you work out as usual. So when you press your calculator very well, class, the answer you're supposed to get there is 32.3%. 32.3%. 32.3%. Roman 3. Roman 3 is saying they are asked 8 times in fortnight. 8 times in fortnight. What does it mean? It means, first of all, we have said 8 times in 5 days. Correct? Here they're saying 8 times in fortnight. So therefore it means that for your mean, for that case, in a week, it is 8 times. What about 2 weeks? That is fortnight. So you multiply by 2. Your answer is what? 16. So then it means that your lambda is 16. Then you come and work out now, say, probability of x is equals to 5 is equals to 16 is now given by permutation 16 power 8 times natural number power negative 16 over permutation 8. Correct? So when you press your calculator very well here, the answer you get in this case is 1.193%. That is how you are supposed to work out question C. I go to question D. Question D is saying, a market survey was conducted to estimate the proportion of homemakers who would recognize the brand name of a cleanser based on the shape and color of the continued. So in this case now, yes. Now in this case, they are now talking about another element called under normal distribution, but they are now saying in this case there is a proportion. Now they are saying who would recognize the brand name of a cleanser based on the shape and color of the container. Of the 1,400 homemakers, 420 were able to identify the brand name. Using the 99% decrease of confidence, calculate the confidence interval of the population proportion. Calculate the confidence interval of the population proportion. Good question. Now, how do we calculate confidence proportion? We now say for proportion, we say P confidence, which means I'm talking about the X. So in this case, it is a proportion like that, plus or minus Z. Sorry for that. Z into brackets times PQ divide by N, then everything like that. And remember, it is the same as saying Z equals to what? Z equals to mean of that plus or minus standard over root of N, Z. It is the same, only that this one they are saying it is proportional, it means it's a probability. So therefore, we are not going to use this Z, but we are going to use what? P. Now on this case, let's now calculate our P. That P with an hyphen on top means this is now the mean or a proportion of the sample. In this case, the proportion of the sample was 420. You divide by what was the size of proportion class? 1,400. So let me get now the proportion of the sample. When you work out that class, the answer you get is 0. So if you press this class, what do you get? So in this case now, if you press, that means this one will go with that up to that point. Then we have now 14 will go there, which is like 0.123. That is our point for that case. Now we have been asked to calculate what? Confidence. So in this case, our work is very easy. We want now to put everything into our formula here. And before we do that, already I have found, I don't have the calculator, but I'm assuming it is, let me just assume to be 0.2 when I've worked out. But if you use your calculator very well, 420 divided by 1400, you will get the correct probability. Now, on that case, if I want now to get the value of Z, in this case I've been told 99. So for that case, that is 99%, and it is a confidence level. It means you are asked to get the range. And if you have been asked to get the range, that is 0.99, you just say the formula based on our notes is that 1 plus this 0.99 you divide by 2. Okay? So that now, in this case, if you work out, let me just to try to draw what it means. Okay? Now, here they are saying it should be in between that particular element. So therefore, we want to find out exactly the probability that will be in between 100 and between 99%. So we want to read this figure first. So if you work out this one, will give you 1.99 divided by 2. So if you work out that class using our calculation that we had, you'll get a figure. Correct? You'll get a figure. So when you get that figure, the answer you get there is a probability for that case is just a minute. Yes. So if you press this one, you'll get something like, I've not worked out, but I don't know how much, what is that figure, but it gives 0.7. I think this one gives you 0. 19 is 9. Into 19 is 9.5. So that is 995. The question is, how do we read this from the table? Now, for us to read this from the table, if you check your calculation, your table of normal distribution, you'll not be able to locate this element directly. So what you do is that your table runs from 0 to around 49. So what you do is very simple. This figure of 0.995, you subtract 0.5 because that is the middle of this particular normal graph. So when you subtract this one, it will give you now 0.495. This one here is now present in your table. Now, when you look at the table that you have, class, of normal distribution, open the table of normal distribution, class. If you trace that figure or from the normal distribution, you want to find out the value of Z. The value of Z. So let me see from the table, 4905, 4905, 495, sorry, 495, 495 from the table. So 495 is in between up there we have 0.06 to 0.7. So down there we have now 49, then it gives you 49.51. So it means that our value for Z, 0.49, is in between the figure. That is on up there in between 0.06 and 0.07. Then the question is, how do we read that? Now for that case, follow now where we have now in between. You'll find it is now 2.5. Then up there we have 0.06 and 0.07. For that case, you pick 0, you pick 6. Then because 5 it is in between 7, 6 and 7, you put there your 5. Therefore it means that your value of Z is this. Come and put in your formula now. Your probability in this case, is in the formula P are found to be 0.2 plus or minus. Z is now 2.565. Then you multiply by what? Multiply by the square root of this value here, which is P. P is now 0.2. What is, okay, plus Q means the remaining, so that it now gives you one figure. In this case, we have already 0.2. So for it to be 1, it is 0.8. So you put here 0.8. Divide by what? N. N is 1400. So square root of this. So now, class, if you now work out this carefully with that class, you will be able to find out the figure. Assuming now it is now 0.6 plus or minus. If I work out this one, it gives me 0.0017. Like that. Assumption. In this case now you can say it means that your probability is either less than or less than this. So here, for us to find out what is here is 0.5 minus this. You will get this figure here. Now for me to get what is ahead, I will take 0.2 plus this, I will get what is here. And that is exactly what you are asked to calculate. So class, review our videos in our class. Question. Still question 1. 1E. Okay, question 1E. In a random sample of 100 units from an assembly line, 22 were defective. Does this provide sufficient evidence at the 10% significance level to allow us to conclude that the defective rate among all the units exceeds 10%? So this question is purely from hypothesis, correct? So in this case now, we want to work out on hypothesis. The first procedure for hypothesis is to state the null and the alternative. So here we are going to say null, mean. So let's read one by one again. A random sample of 100 units from a sample line, 22 were defective. 22 are defective. Therefore, it means that out of 100. So let me work out first. So in this case, I will now say besides a probability equals to 22 divided by 100 gives you 0.22 as a probability. Then alternative for that matter is P. Are they saying less or greater than? In a random sample of 100 units from a sample, this one, were defective. Does this provide evidence that 10% confidence level to allow us to conclude that the defective rate among all the units exceeds this one? It means now, this is the opposite. So does it exceed 0.22? That is what we want to prove. If I think exceed, it means it will be like this. So here we are assuming it is now equals to, then we want to prove. The second step is to state test the statistics. Test statistic. Test statistic. Now, which statistic are we going to use, class? Is it Z? Is it T? So in this case, it is over more than 100, more than 30 N. So if it is more than 30 samples, automatically we are going to use Z. So Z equals to, this is now about the probability. Therefore, we will say it is a probability of that minus probability divided by the standard deviation. Divide by standard deviation everything over what? N. Square root of N. Square root of N for that matter. Now, for this case, we don't have the standard deviation for that matter. Because we don't have, it will now be PQ divided by N square root of that. So, we are dealing with the proportion for that probability. So, it will not, there will be no standard deviation. So, I will be doing some videos to differentiate the two. But this is probability. So, it will be like this. Now, we come and substitute. Now, where we have P, we have now 0.2. And we have been told exceeds 10%. So, therefore, that is our normal P from the population. So, this P is from population. And a P with an hyphen is from the sample. So, like that, minus 0.1 divided by 0.1 times 0.9 divided by the sample is 100, then square root plus. This PQ, P stands for the population proportion. Then Q is the remaining part of the population proportion. If the 0.1 is the normal, from the normal population, then the remaining is 0.9. So you put it like that. When you work out this one using your calculator, class, the answer you get is 4. Remember what have we done here? This is what we call calculation. Z calculated. What about Z itself you read from the table? Here we have been told it is 0.1. So 0.1. Read this from the table. 0.1. How do we read 0.1 from the table? Now class, because they are saying it is greater than, you cannot read 0.1 directly. Because they are saying greater than. Therefore it means it will be 1 minus 0.1 gives you 0.9. Now this 0.9 is like 90%. But you cannot read this from the table, from the tables we have. So you need to subtract what? 0.5 so that you reduce it to 0.4. Now you read 0.4 0 from the table. And when you read 0.4 from the table, the answer you get is 1.285 from the table. Now, class, what is your rejection rate? What is your rejection region, class? What is your rejection region? In this case, now they are saying greater than. Therefore, it means that if Z calculated is greater than 1 point, the one we have just read, this is what we have read, and this is what we have calculated, 285, then reject the null hypothesis. Now, is it correct now? 4 is greater than 1.285? Class? Yes. So, reject this. That is your decision. Now, I go to question 2, class. Going to question 2 now. Correct. So question 2 is about, not really question 2, sorry, question F. This question 1 was very long. Question F was saying, the following table summarizes the data of marks given to first year B.Com students. We have BMS 100 and BSc 100. Compute the Spearman's rank correlation coefficient. So they are saying Spearman rank correlation. So how do you write that, class? It is R equals to 1 minus 6 summation of D square divided by N power 3 minus N. Is that correct, class? Now we have been given the data here. We have the BMS 100, and BMS 100 we have been given 45. We have been given 47, we have been given 60, we have been given 38, we have been given 50. Then we have to rank. Class, rank. You can start from the smallest number to represent rank 1 until the end. Or you decide and say, let me start with the largest number to represent rank 1. So it is upon you to decide. In this case, we can decide and say the smallest number here is 38. So we can say this is rank 1. Correct? And somebody can also decide and say, let me use the largest number to represent the largest what? Rank. So this one becomes rank 1 for the one who is using the largest number. So whichever the method, well, whichever the way you can choose this, you can still arrive at the same question. Now, in this class, we can now find, let me use the smallest now. Let me say this is the smallest, this is rank 1. Followed by which number? This is number 2. Followed by which number? This is number 3. Followed by which number? This is number 4. And this one is number 5. So I have the rank for BMS 100. Then we go to BAC. BAC 100 the same. So the BAC 100, what we have been given is for 60, 61, 58, 48, and finally 46. Then I get now the rank. Class, don't interchange the ranks. Once you have decided to say the smallest number to represent rank 1, then it will apply to the other variable also. So the smallest one. So the smallest value here is this. So it's rank 1. This is rank 2. This is rank 3. This is rank 4. And this is rank 5. Then therefore we get the difference. In this case, it is represented by letter D. So what is the difference now? Ranks now. It is rank, this one here minus this. So it will be 2 minus 3, 2 minus 4, 3 minus 5, 5 minus 3, and all that up to the end. So this minus this is negative 2. This minus that is negative 2. This minus this is positive 1. Sorry. This minus that is negative 1. This minus that is 3. Then you square, because the formula says d square. So you square that. Why are we squaring? So that we remove the signs. So this one will give you 4, 4, 1, 1, and then 9. Then you add. So when you add this class, this is 8. This is 8 here, 9, 10, 19. 8, 8, 9, 10, 19. It's around 19 there. Correct? Now, once you have that, then you come and substitute your formula here. Then you say now my R is 1 minus 6 times summation of D, which is that 19. You divide by N is the number of items you are seeing, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it will be 5 power 3 by 3 minus 5. This gives you what class? 1 minus that plus that gives you 25 over, this is this one is 125 minus that gives you 120. If you work out this class, you get the answer that you have been asked to calculate. This is how simple that question was. So I'm going to question 2. Question 2 says A, discuss the uses of index numbers within the business organization. Index numbers, these are purely numbers that are mainly used to analyze the situation in an organization. Maybe you want to know how the prices of a product or a commodity is behaving. So therefore, we also want to know what is the total cost you are incurring for production of that particular commodity. So therefore, in this case, they are saying A, they want you to give the uses of index numbers. So in this case, it is mainly used to analyze the inflation and price changes in organization. Inflation and price changes. That is number 1. Number 2, it is also used in that particular organization to analyze the costs. It can also be used to analyze the performance of that particular organization. How the organization has performed by the end of the year compared to other years, or you can also compare the outcome of this particular year with other firms in the same industry. So these are some of the uses of index numbers in the organization. Then B, that is question 2 now. Question 2, you have been given the table there and you are asked, find the least square simple regression line that can be used to estimate the annual. So they want you to come up with a Roman 1 simple regression line, which is y is equals to a plus bx. Okay? Then class, people have come up with several formulas to calculate the value of a and b. So for my previous videos, I want to use the same concept that I have in my video so that I don't confuse. So in this case, I can now say summation of y equals to na plus summation of b, summation of x. Then summation of xy equals to a summation of b, summation of x, plus b summation of x squared. This is what is in my YouTube. So therefore, we can use this one to solve this problem. Then again, we have been told Roman 2, compute the coefficient of correlation. In this case, Roman 2 now, coefficient of correlation, which is now R is given by what class? I've again said that many people have come up with the formulas. So I want to use the one that we have in our YouTube. So we can now say summation of xy minus n, summation of nxy mean. Then I divide this by summation of x square minus n summation nx square, like that. Then into summation of y square minus n y mean square. Then I get everything squared. So when you look at this question, it's so easy to memorize. You can see I'm just saying summation of xy. Then I'm bringing the same xy here, but I'm saying mean now. I'm using the mean. Then I'm bringing n. Then I'm just breaking whatever that is on the denominator here. You can see x squared. I'm just picking x squared with the x, this one I'm squaring. Then n, I'm bringing n there, x squared. So this formula is easier to memorize. And remember, you cannot work out this question without the formulas correctly. Then they are again saying, calculate what again? Coefficient of determination. So they want you to work out on the determination. Roman 3, determination. Let's represent it with the capital letter R. How do you calculate coefficient of determination? It is a square root, it's a square of determination here. is a square of coefficient. So in this case, it is r square. Then you have been told interpret. So you need to interpret small r and capital R. So therefore, this is what you have been given. We have been asked to calculate. Let's now generate the table based on what we have. At the moment that I'm saying experience is put as X, then Y is there given also as well. We have been given 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 5, 5, 3, 4, 4, 3, 8, and 10. Then Y we have been given as 20, 12, 8, 10, 70, 60, 32, 90, 30, 30, 160. That is what we have been given. Now we want to fill, you see, whatever you have written here is what you need to generate from here. For example, I want to find out the summation of X, summation of Y. So it means I need to add this Y here for me to get the summation of Y. Again, what is here again is that I need to find summation of X. So I need to add the values of X and get that. Then I need, for that case, I need also XY, which means I just need to add here XY. Then from there, once I've put XY here, I need to go to the second question, which says summation of XY. That is what I have already, but I don't have mean. Mean, I will work them here. Okay? I need mean for X and Y from this table. Then I need X square, which means I need to add X square and Y square. Once you have done that, then yours is very easy now. Now let's see, it is now X times Y, which is these numbers here. So class, if you work out this one, it will give you 40 here. It will give you 24. It will give you 8. It will give you 10. It will give you 70. 370, sorry. 350. 300. 96. 360. 120. 90. 800. 600. So if you add this one, it gives you 2798. Then you work out this one, it will give you 522. This one will give you 48. Then mean I will just take the sum, divide by the value of F. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I will say now 48 divided by 12. So I will get, that's my summation there. Then my mean there will be 4. Then the mean for the other one will give me 43.5. So I have now the mean here and Y. So I have the mean already here. Now X square class, for the X square, now which means you are squaring this, you will get 4, 4, 1, 1, 25, 25, 9, 16, 16, 9, 64, and finally 100. If you add that class, your answer you get is 274. Then Y square, which is this now here, if you work out that one, you get 400. You will get 144. You will get 64. You will get 100. You will get 4,900. You will get 3,600. You will get 1024. You will get 8100. You will get 3600. You will get 1024. 1024. Sorry. You will get 4900. Sorry. This 4900, 3600, 1024, 8100, 900, 900, 10,000, and finally 3600. Total 33,732. So class, what you have done is now you have simplified your work. Now let's now work one by one. One by one. So I want now to work out the value of number 1, y equals to that. So yours is just to substitute. Summation of x, summation of y, you just look at it like that. You get it 522 equals to n. This one is 12a plus summation of x, that is 48b. Correct? Then this one is xy. You can see the xy is here. So you put there 2798 equals to this one is b. This is 48a plus then x square, which is this one, which is 274b. Then class, you decide on a method you want to solve. So let me use the method of elimination. I want to eliminate this one here. So I just interchange 48 to be on this side, then 12 on this side. Then once I do that, and then I will not need this anymore. So it will just be 48 times this, then 48 times whatever I'm seeing on the first line, which means times this also. Then 12 will be out of all this. Then I will have now 522 times 48. So when you work out that 522 times 48, the answer you get is 25,026 equals to 48 times 48 class. Your answer you get is 2304b. Then open this class also. It will give you 33,576 equals to 3288b. So subtract now, class. When you subtract, your answer there is negative 984b. This one is negative 8520. If you divide both sides by negative that, your answer you get b is 8.66. Correct? Once you have this one, then pick any equation, either equation 1 or equation 2 to substitute. Let me pick equation 1. So which is 522 equals to 12a plus 48 times b, which is 8.66. Now work out that equation, class. What is that, class? When you work out that, you get 415.68. Then this one crosses the other side. Your answer you get is 106.32 is equals to what? 12a. So your a is 8.86. 8.86. Then what is your y now? My y is 8.86 plus 8. B was what? 8. B, we have not calculated b. Where is our b? Yes, it is here. 8.66x. So that is what they wanted you in Roman 1. Now let's go to Roman 2. Roman 2, you are asked to calculate the coefficient of correlation. Coefficient of correlation, which we have said it will be R equals to summation of X, which is this figure here. So you put here 2,798 minus X is 12 times mean of X, which is 4, times mean of Y, 43.5. Then you divide by summation of X square. Summation of X square, which is 274 minus N times, N is already 12, times mean of 4.4 square. Then summation of Y, which square, which is this one. You am seeing there at 3,732 minus 12 times the mean of 43.5 square. Then you get the square root of this. Now class, if you press your calculator, whatever that is on the numerator and whatever that is on the denominator, the answer you're supposed to get at the moment is 900 on the numerator side. I'm getting 710 on the numerator On the denominator, I'm getting 951 times now 100%. Your answer is 74.66%. That is now the coefficient of correlation. Now, class, what does it mean? It means that there is a strong and positive correlation between the value of dependent and the independent. In this case, dependent is now the value of y, and the x is now the independent. So for that case, there is a strong correlation. Now for this case, we were told there was an experience in terms of cells. Therefore, it tells us there is a strong correlation between between x and y. That is the interpretation for that first part. Now, the second part is calculate the coefficient of determination, which you have said, you just say r square, which means square this. 74.66 square. Your answer is 55. The answer you get there is 55.74%. What does it mean, class? Because that's what we have been told. Interpret. It means that out of the formula that we have, that is the case where we had y equals to 8.86 plus 8.66x. It means that the coefficient of correlation, determination, this one now, is that there is 55.74% can be explained by dependent variables. So in this case, it means that dependent variables can be explained at 55.74% by the independent value. So meaning that this independent value x here can explain exactly the relationship between what is on the independent side, and what is on the independent side. So in this case now, it is explainable that 55.74% of dependent variable can be explained by independent variable. The question now is, if that is the case, 55.74% can be explained by the independent variable x, what about the remaining? Therefore, the interpretation will be that 55.75% can be explained. By independent variable x, while the remaining percentage now, because remember there is one that cannot be represented in that case. So in this case, the remaining percentage is about, let me check, it is about 44.26% can be explained by other factors. Maybe it can be economic factors, that is economic factors that can affect, that is like political situation in a particular country. It can also be based on the how the activities in organization or in a country is behaving. So it can also affect that particular element. So that is how you are supposed to be explained. Question 4. Class, let's go to question 3, yeah? Question 3, we are just about to finish. Now, question 3 is again about hypothesis, whereby we say the hypothesis is just that statement that we are trying to, is a statement that gives an assumption, a belief, or an opinion that we are about to test on whether it is correct or not correct. That's what we call what? Hypothesis. Now let's see. Now, question 3. So this hypothesis that we have been given there is very important. Now it says, the trustee of a company's pension plan has solicited the opinions of a sample of the company's employees. regarding a proposed revision of the plan. A breakdown of the responses is shown in the table below. So we have the table there, responses for, and some are against. Then for the responses, we have lower level, middle level, top level, and the total. The question is now, is there sufficient evidence at the 5% significance level to conclude that the response differ among the three groups of employees? This again from hypothesis. Now in this case, we don't know exactly what needs to be done, but our work is very easy. Let's state first of all our null and hypothesis. A null and alternative hypothesis. Now in this case, we don't know exactly how to approach from this angle here. But our work, we just need to read the question and see, is there any difference? Is there sufficient evidence at the 5% significance level to conclude that the response differ among the three groups of employees? So I can form my hypothesis from that statement by saying differ with response. Then another one is hypothesis, alternative hypothesis is do not differ with the responses. Those are my hypotheses already. So I have already stated the alternative, and I have now my, not alternative but null, then my alternative. The next step is now to identify the level of what? Level of significance. So in this case, the level of significance we have been given is 5%. 0.05. Then from there, can we identify the test statistics? So which one are we going to use? Now this question as it is giving us the relationship between the two variables. Therefore, what type of statistic is this? It's a chi statistic. So we are going to use the chi square. And the chi square is always represented by x square. Then which is now given by what? Observed value minus expected value. Then you square, you divide everything by the expected. Now from this equation here, class, whatever you are given in the table is what we call what? Observed data. So we can say cell is now counting 1, 2, 3, 4, for example. Then observed is what you are seeing yourself there, the table given. So the table have been given there is 67. You see the table has been given across. So when you are listing, you list it downwards. So you go like that as you list them down, which means 67, 32, 11. Then another one is 63, 18, 9. This is 5, 6. Now class, when you look at this table carefully, you find that that is the table. We don't have the expected. What do we do? Our work is very easy. Remember, this is our formula. This is what we want to put in our formula here. Now we don't have that expected that we want to look for. How do you calculate the expected? The formula is, for us to calculate the expected, you need to take the total row times total column. Correct? Once you get that, you divide this answer by grand total. Now, class, I want you to look at the table given. The table given 4 has been given. The total at the end is 110. Against is 90. Those are the totals now. And I've said total row. So row, those are the lines now. So there are only 2 rows. Having 110, another one is 90. Columns, how many columns are those going downwards, class? We have for the lower level, middle level, and higher level. So there are 3 totals down there for the columns: 130, 50, and 20. So therefore, our work is very easy. You take, for example, first column. Look at what I'm going to do. First column, we have been given total as 110 times the total column downwards. First one is 130. You divide this by the total. Total is all of them, which is 200. you get the answer. The second one is still 110. You ensure that you use the entire columns first before you move to the second row. So times the second column is 50. You divide this by 200. You get the answer. Then we still have 100 times 30. You divide this by 200. You get the answer. So you are now through with the first row. You are through with the first row. Go to the second row. The second row just change a little bit again. And we say now row, total row, I have 90. Times total column, 130. You divide everything by 200. Total row, 100. Times total column, 50. You divide by 200. Then you now say total row, 100. Times column, 30. You divide everything by 200. Once you work out this one, you will be able to fill in the value of E. Now, when you press your calculator very well, class, you will be able to find for the first E to be 71.5, 27.5, 11, 58.5, and finally we have 11, 58.5, we have 22.5, and then 9. Then what else, class? This is our formula. So I'll now say E minus O. Sorry. It is E minus O. Then you substitute. Therefore, E is 71.5 minus 67. Then you square. The same 27.5 minus 32 you square. So when you work out that answer, the answer you get is what we call 20.25. This is also again 20.25, 0, 20.25, and then 20.25, 0. You add your answer. No, you don't need to add. Then you now come and say it is now E O minus E minus E square. You divide by E. So I'm bringing in now this formula here. So it will be these answers I have here. I divide. So this is my E's. These are E's now here. So I will take, no, this is my E, and this is now my numerator here. So I will take the numerator, which is 20.27 divided by E, 20.25 divided by E, 0 divided by E, 20.25 divided by E, 20.25 divided by E, 0.0 divided by this times that divided by E. Once you work out this one now, your answer, the first one you get is 0.28. This is 0.74. This is 0. Then 0.35. Then 0.9 and 0. You add. When you add now, you are getting your chi-square. So in this case, it gives me 2.75. Class. Now, this is what I have. From here, we want now to find out what we call rejection area. Rejection area. Rejection what? Area, or rejection what? Region. And how do we get rejection region? It is just reading directly from our table. In this case, we can say my x square, my x square here, we have been given a significance level of what? 0.5 of 0.05. Then your n. In this case, because it is a rectangular table, so you need to use the formula n equals to row minus column minus 1 times row, then column minus 1. How many rows are there in this question, in this table? Now, the rows that are there are only 2. So you just say it is 2 minus 1. How many columns are there? They are 3 minus 1. If you multiply this, you get what? 2. Therefore, it means for me to read the chi-square, I have now my 2 here. What is the answer? So you go to your chi-square table, class. You go to your chi-square table. The table is already there. Now, this one, these 2 here is what they call what? D, that is degree of freedom. Degree of freedom. So check the degree of freedom under 2. Then check where we have 0.05 along that column up there. So when you check carefully, this one is along the row. This one now you check it downwards. So when you check that thing downwards, the answer you get is 5. This gives you 5.991. What does it mean, class? It means if chi-square calculated is less than 5.991, reject that decision. Let's see whether it is true. What we have calculated, we have found to be 2.7, which is less than this. So therefore, we reject. We go to number 4, class. Yes, we go to number 4, class. Number 4 there is again given. It's also from normal distribution again under T distribution table. Now we have been asked, a courier service advertises that its average delivery time is less than 6 hours for local deliveries. A random sample of the amount of time this courier takes to deliver packages to the address across town produces the following times. Round to the nearest what? An hour. So we have those ones. Is there sufficient evidence to support the courier's advertisement at the 5% level sufficient? So this one is still under hypothesis. Is there sufficient evidence? So number 4, question 4A. Hypothesis. In this case, hypothesis, that is null hypothesis. We have been told a courier services advertises that its average delivery time is less than 6%. So you can say in this case now the average is 6 hours. Then we now work against and say this one is less than. You see, when you say less than, that is how it looks like. Then we move on from this one. We go to the next step is what? Level of what? Level of significance. Significance. Which is now, in this case, we have been told it is how much? 0.5%? 0.05. Which is that. Then, what is your test? What is your test statistic? Your statistic. Your test statistic in this case now, it is a normal distribution, yes, but it is T. T, which is now given by that minus mean over, in this case now over S root of what? N. So when they say, you see, it is the same as Z, yes, but because it is less than, you see, when you go back to our notes, you are saying, for us to use T, N must be less than what? 30. And S now, we use now S for that matter. Now look at that, that is what you have been given. Now, we want to find out the value of S. S is given by what? Summation of fx squared divided by, minus summation of x squared divided by n, everything over n minus 1. Then you get the root. That is how to find the standard deviation. Now, I need to use the table that I've been given, which is now x, in this case is 7, 3, 4, 6, 10, 5, 6, 4, 3, 8. Okay, I have the x. I'm just filling using this one. So I need the x square. So x square. Do I have summation of x square? Summation of x square like that. So I need to find out the value of x squared class. So x squared is giving me 49 here, 9 there, 16, 36, 100, 25, 36, 16, 9, and 64. What is the total value down there? You get here 360. Total here is 56. Mean, x mean, you divide by what? 10, gives you what? 5.6. Now, my mean is 5.6. Then my mean from the population is 6. So I substitute now in my formula. Now I can now say, okay, this is what I have. Then my t calculated is now mean of 5.6 minus 6 divided by standard deviation. Have I calculated the standard deviation? No. So let me work out the standard deviation. So my s is now x squared, which is 360 minus 56 divided by 10 square. You divide everything by 10 minus 1. You get that answer. So the answer, if you work out that class, you get here you will get 2.27. So you come now say, okay, my s, not my s, but your t now is mean, which is 5.6 minus 6, divided by the standard deviation of 2.27, divided by the square root of n, which is 10. So if you press your calculator very well, class, if you press your calculator very well for t, your answer you get is negative 0.557. Negative 0.557. Now, class, what about the t that we read from the table? This is calculated. What about the t from the table, which is 0.05? Then how do we get n, class? We normally say n minus 1. So which means 10 minus 1 is 9. Now read from the table. 10 here, 9 here is that degree of difference. Then check across, you will see 0.5. So when you look at this, your table carefully, the answer you get there is negative. It is 1.833. Now, is it negative or a positive? This one will depend on what you made as your alternative, as you made what you made as what null hypothesis and null and alternative hypothesis. So that one is dependent on alternative. So which means this one, if it is less, it means this one is negative here. If this is greater than this one here, if it says greater than, that means that this sign is like that. This one will be a positive. And if this case here there was nothing, for example, it doesn't show the direction, whether you go to the right or to the left, it will be like this. So therefore, that is how you read. This one will be now your negative. Now, once you look at that carefully, class, check and see now. It is less than. So you can now say, if t calculated is less than negative 1.833, reject. Reject what? The null hypothesis. Check now. Is this less than, is negative 0.557 less than negative 1.833? If it is, this figure is less than this one, we reject. But now when you check this carefully, this number is bigger than this because these are negative. So this number is, so therefore it means that the calculated figure is greater than what we have read. Therefore, do not reject null hypothesis. So that is how you are supposed to work out on that question. Therefore, I've worked right away from question 1 to question 4. So the next lesson, that is next lesson, we shall be picking from question 4, 5, and 6. Therefore, I wish you well, class, as you continue with your revision. I will be finalizing on the remaining questions. I wish you well as you continue with your revision. Have a wonderful time. And if you have a question, kindly reach out on 0735 346 777.